It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I die for living in the movies and TV.
This week we sit down with Josh McNair, who runs the very popular YouTube channel Through My Lens. In fact, he has two YouTube channels. We generally in this conversation talk about Through My Lens, but he has another one called California Through My Lens. So between the two channels, he has over 600,000 subscribers and really, really awesome YouTube channels. And if you do like a search for Route 66, his video is going to be the number one video that comes up with like 15 million views. But he's also does some amazing trips all around the United States. He does great like tour guide type videos where, you know, for me, my videos might not be like a tour guide. I'm just kind of going around and telling you about these towns and the history. But if you want to actually visit the places in these towns, he gives you almost itineraries for how to do it. So it's a great resource, and he does a great job. We had just a good long conversation. He chatted with me for longer than even I had originally asked for. So I'm just going to have the whole interview, play the whole interview kind of unedited here. And it was really fun to kind of pick the brain of one of the, in my opinion, one of the best, guys on YouTube there is. And this is Josh McNair. He's joining us today. He has the YouTube channel Through My Lens. And so, Josh, I thought what I'd do is I would just read the little about info that you wrote on the YouTube channel, and that'll give people a little bit of background. I'm guessing a lot of them know who you are and have watched your videos, but just in case, I'll read this. It says, Through My Lens exists to share high-quality and informative travel videos from all over the world. The videos cover everything from hikes and restaurants to city guides, sharing the best spots in the places I travel. All of the videos are shot and edited by me based on actual trips I've taken to these places. I love the fact that you actually go to the places. I do that too. And there's obviously other channels that people kind of highlight places and you can tell they haven't been there, but you actually go and it's obvious that you go. And so I love that. You have a website, which I'm going to ask about a little bit later. You have Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Everything is kind of Through My Lens. If you search Through My Lens, I'm guessing you'll find that and all those different social media apps. You're located. I just found out that you're located in Riverside, California. So we were talking before we came on. I've actually recruited out there, so a little bit familiar with Riverside, but you haven't been to Wichita, so you're always welcome to head to Wichita. So your channel has, as of today, 340 plus thousand subscribers, which is mind-boggling, to someone like me. You've done 200 videos or a little bit more, 75 million views or over. You have 15 videos that have at least 1 million views, which is insane. It looks like your first video was posted 9 years ago, but you really started doing it consistently. It looks like 4 or 5 years ago. Man, what a channel that you've grown. How'd you get started doing this?
That's quite the intro. I feel like I should be walking up on stage or something now. Also, I'm glad that my YouTube bio doesn't sound that bad. I don't remember last time I actually read or edited that, so that could have been like 6 years ago. Sounds all right though. It seems like it's relatively what I do. Yeah, what was the question? Sorry.
So how did you get started? I asked you about your background a little bit. Was YouTube, getting going in YouTube, have anything to do with what you were doing before YouTube, or what's your background and how'd you get started?
Yeah, I was doing marketing before, so I have a background in marketing. I went to school for marketing, especially digital marketing. But I started the blog California Through My Lens about 10, 12 years ago now, where I just kind of focused on traveling as much of California as I possibly could. Just because I was working full time and didn't have the time or money to really kind of get outside of my state. So I just was like, well, California's a cool state. People come and travel here. I'll see if I can explore as much as possible. And so I ran the blog for a while, and about 4 years in, I took it full time running the blog. And I did that for probably another 3 or 4 years before I started moving into YouTube. And then now YouTube basically just takes all my time running the two channels. I have two channels. So I have one focused on California one focused outside of California, and just trying to keep content on those weekly is basically a full-time job for multiple people, but it's just me. So the blog doesn't get updated as much as I want anymore, but maybe in the future we'll keep that going.
Well, I was wondering, so do you have like a release schedule that you try to follow, or is it just release videos as you're able to?
I try to release a video every Sunday. I do every Sunday per Through My Lens. And then California, I'm more sporadic there. If I have a video, I will release it on Sunday. But I took a couple months off this summer because I was traveling for about 2.5 months outside of the state. So didn't have a time to get a lot of content there. But now that I'm back in California again, I'm sure I'll have a lot more California content over the next few months. So I can kind of be posting on both channels again.
Great. So watching your videos, it feels like you're a travel guide, but with a very authentic, genuine touch, is the way I would describe it. And, a lot of people will do like vlogs where they're traveling around, and I do that kind of stuff too. But you do a lot of videos with your father. That's, very popular. You did the Route 66 stuff a few years ago. Was that the series the trip that really kind of got things really rolling on YouTube, or was there something else before that?
Yeah. For the Through My Lens, so my channel outside of California, definitely the Route 66 videos what kind of made the channel take off. Back before that, I had some relatively successful videos that were more like the things to do in the city videos, which was popular back then. Now, a lot of those videos are kind of AI and stuff, so people don't trust them as much as they used to. But when the road trip video with me and my dad, and that's kind of like long form 2-hour content, for some reason that really, connected with people, which was cool, super cool to see. And that's kind of skyrocketed the channel and then allowed us to kind of do these quarterly road trips that my dad and I go on now. I think we're up to 10 or 12 or something that we've done, where we just basically pick a state or a road or a highway, and we just kind of see what we can find on there. And you have such a blast doing it. I'm so blessed to be able to get to have those adventures with my dad and to have so many people connect with that. So
how did that idea come for you and your dad to do videos together? I'm guessing you started doing them kind of solo. And how did it come to be to have your dad involved in those?
Yeah, the Route 66 video, my dad and I had always talked about driving Route 66 for basically my whole life. And so I was married, but I didn't have kids then. And so we just kind of figured that was a great time to try to do it. And so we took 2 weeks off and we did the road trip only because we had been talking about it for a long time. Like I was filming it as like a secondary thing. It wasn't, the main reason wasn't to like make a YouTube video about it. It was more just kind of filming my dad and I's adventure and also kind of adding to the lore of Route 66 in terms of there's, you never know what the road's going to be like. So making a video that's long and that tries to show as much as possible about the route then allows, you to kind of take a snapshot of that and preserve it for the future so people can, be able to relive Route 66 with us. Those are kind of the two main reasons why I did it, not thinking that it was going to be something that connected as much with people as it did.
And am I correct that I've seen he has a channel too, that he does some videos and uploads some different things too?
Yeah, I told my dad probably 2 or 3 months ago, you should start a channel because he's really interested in history and he's, been a professor and stuff. And so I thought that, it would be something that'd be different than what I was doing. And as, we were traveling together, then he could also shoot his videos as well about things like that. And so, I'll make a video on, you talked about Wild Bill in Wichita, and he made a video on Wild Bill and Calamity Jane in Deadwood because he was super interested in their history there while we were there. So it's cool because we can kind of do different things when we're traveling, and we can have different interests. And he has his channel now where he shares that stuff. So that's really fun too.
I'm sure that's pretty cool that you guys are both having those, at least thinking the same way. That, I've had people say, "Hey, I'd like to go on a trip with you," and I go, "I don't think you'd like to go on a trip with me because it's probably going to be boring for you because I'm going to be driving around in circles looking for like a perfect shot of this building or something like that. And you're going to be like, let's go to the next place." So it's probably cool to have a like-minded, at least thinking that way, like, oh, man, how could we film this, or what could we stop and see along the way? I'm sure that's a fun way to travel that you probably never thought would ever be part of the traveling experience.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned in the South Dakota road trip video we just put up, I was kind of like, you don't want to travel with us, every 3 minutes we're stopping. It takes us 14 hours basically to start our day, and it can be a lot for sure.
I definitely can relate. How have you come up with ideas for where to go? How much planning do you do? I'm guessing you do a lot of planning, but how do you decide where to go specifically, or to make a big trip? Is there any kind of just like, man, I've always wanted to go there, and so let's plan a trip somehow around this one spot? Or is it, more long road trips that you think about more often? Or what's your process for the beginnings of making a YouTube video, I guess?
Yeah, for the road trips, I mean, I have a big list of all the ones that I'd like to do in the United States, and I'll check those off as I have time based on how much time I have. So if I have 2 weeks, I can do this road trip, but I can't do this one, and so I'll do something like that. I've been planning these kind of big summer trips. So last year, went to Alaska, and so we drove to Alaska from California over a couple months, driving up there, staying in Anchorage, driving home, and so I planned road trips around that. This summer, we went to New York from California, so I just kind of picked different routes that would work good with New York. So we did a couple states on the way there, Minnesota, Michigan, and South Dakota road trips that I have to edit now. And then on the way back, we drove Lincoln Highway from Times Square to San Francisco. So that was about 15, 16 days doing that. That was the first transcontinental road in the United States. And so we kind of wanted to see that in the same way we saw like Route 66. So there's always, changes. I mean, the list gets bigger every time, it's like you said, Wichita. I'm like, okay, cool. It'd be cool to go to Kansas. I haven't been to Kansas yet. I'd love to make a video on like every state, like the ultimate road trip in every state. So I think we've done maybe 7 or 8 of the states, like ultimate road trip style. And so I'd like to do all of them. That would be pretty cool. There's always just more stuff to do,
Yeah, you have an idea for something, and then here comes 3 more ideas, and you're like, oh man, which one? And I have a limited amount of time. So I do, you do this, you're talking about each state. I do these videos where I visit the 10 smallest towns within a state, incorporated towns. And I've done 9. And like you said, my goal is to do all 50, but I can't imagine I'll ever get to that point, and so there's all these other things that, you do in between. But so I notice you also, as your channel's grown, you do live streams. I've seen, like a few weeks ago, you had a live stream with fans. How has it been going from maybe being a more anonymous person to someone that you're now doing live stream? You have fans and you have people that are just like waiting for you to put something out. How has that changed? How you, interact with people. I tell people early on, if anybody put a comment, man, I could respond instantly. Now you get to a point where I'm sure for you put a video up, it's hard to even keep up with reading the comments. They're coming in so fast. And so is the live stream, is there ways to interact with your, significant fans that are able to feel, keep it feeling personable and have a genuine touch?
We try our best. I have the live streams, like I try to do them once a quarter. It's always a great time. Me and my dad have so much fun because it's so cool to have people be interested in what we're doing and talking to us about trips and things like that. I mean, I have the Patreon, and I have like a chat kind of area in there, so people will, ask more dedicated questions in there if they're interested in something specific. But in terms of the idea of even like a small little bit of fame on YouTube, I mean, the first time someone came up and actually like wanted to take a picture with me, I mean, it was so nuts. Like, it's the coolest thing ever that somebody actually cares enough about your content that you're creating to like feel like they have a connection to you and to come and want to talk to you or want to take a picture. I mean, it's mind blowing. I would have never thought that anything like that would have ever happened when I started. And it's also just like cool for my dad and I, when we're traveling together, kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So, when we see somebody and they come up to us and he's like introducing himself as Pops, what I call him on the YouTube channel and stuff. And I mean, it's something I would have never expected. And it's just such a cool thing to have happen.
I think that, you talk about you and your dad being on the videos. I think one of the probably reasons you have a lot of loyal fans or people that, talk to you like that is because, like I said earlier, it just comes off very genuine. And so people feel like they know you probably. And obviously you're talking to them and you don't know anything about them, but they feel like they know you because you share so much of your life. And, that's a, different thing. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, I had YouTube channels, back in the day that I felt the same way. It's like when, Casey Neistat was making his daily videos, I always watched them, and I felt like I would have been the same way. If I saw him, I would have came up to him and been like, I know you, and he would have, I have no idea who you are, it's the, I think they call it like the parasocial relationship or something like that, where you kind of create these relationships that don't like actually, exist in like your real life and connect with people and stuff. So I mean, I think that's super cool and super interesting aspect of what we do.
Your obviously YouTube channel takes up a ton of time, but you have a terrific website through mylens.com. I was on that, and if somebody is interested in surfing the web, I would recommend them to go there because everything's very organized. And if you're looking for maybe a certain state or a certain road trip, sometimes on YouTube there's so many videos to search through. It's often a little tougher to exactly find it. There's playlists and things like that, but your website's really great. I look at that sometimes and get some even ideas for where I'm on a travel. How often do you work on your website compared to obviously YouTube?
I mean, I used to work on it all the time, but definitely not as much anymore. But I've, kind of tried to see what people are interested in. So like, for example, I made this Utah road trip, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't put any content on my website about it. And I just get questions all the time about like, what hotels did you stay at? Like, what is there a full itinerary anywhere? Things like that. And so I've, seen that that's what people are interested in and that it helps them plan the trip. And one of my goals have always been with creating content is to not have people just watch me, but to have people go and then have these experiences themselves. Because to me, I think that, one of the best ways to preserve the beauty of nature and be nicer to each other and stuff is to experience, things with our life. And so I want to make it as easy as possible for people to, go on a trip that they might not have gone to, like go to South Dakota. If they'd never thought about going to South Dakota, then it's like, here's a video of all the things we did. And here's here's my website that has a full itinerary that shows like where we stopped at each day. And you can choose to be as crazy as we are and do as many things, or you can choose to do less, but at least the options are available to hopefully make it easy for people to kind of have these experiences themselves.
I noticed on your website something that I did recently that I found a lot of people looked at more than I thought was you have a Google Maps with pins all different places and then links to the videos that you've made of those places. I found that was, I kind of was doing it for myself to keep track of maybe like places I haven't been. Here's a part of the United States that doesn't have any pins in it. And then people were saying they use that a lot to map out their own trips or get some references. I have, I don't know, I'm guessing you did that. You probably had a lot of people do that too.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, I think it's cool for myself. I love being able to look at the map and, see what areas I need to fill in. But I also think I prefer to like visually browse things when I'm traveling too. So if you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to go to this area, and you can look at the map and you can see videos like directly related to that area instead of trying to search and find them, I think it's a much better kind of user experience. And so I just try to create the things that I think are helpful to myself and hope that they're helpful to other people as well. But the map is definitely one of those.
Couple last questions for you. Have you made any videos that weren't as popular as you thought maybe they would be, but you love those videos or you wish that more people saw those videos? For as an example, I've had 2. So you talked about going to Alaska, and I just went to Alaska this summer and made a bunch of videos. And they're probably, for me, I worked the hardest on them. And, and I knew there wouldn't be probably a lot of views because I don't have a lot of fans from Alaska. I have more fans from Kansas and Nebraska and Missouri and places like that. And also made a video years ago. I went to Easter Island, and it was probably the most unique experience I've ever had. I mean, there's barely 1,000 people have seen that video. Now, I'm not like feeling sorry for myself, but are there ones that, are under the radar that if somebody might have seen your Route 66 stuff, or somebody might have seen the US 50 through Nevada or something like that, but is there something on your channel that's hidden in the hundreds of videos that it's like, man, that's kind of a hidden gem that you really love that, and maybe not as many people have seen it as some of the other videos?
I'm going to go watch your Easter Island video. It sounds awesome. I think that because of just the place that I'm at in life and like the things that I'm able to do, like I I do the road trips with my dad. Those are the ones that people connect with the most. And basically anything that's not a road trip with my dad is kind of just like a passion video for me. Usually like I make the decisions on what I want to do and where I want to go and the places I want to see. So I already know that, if you're talking about 1 million views, it's like, well, the road trips may do 1 million views, but none of the other content will really do that. And that's okay because it's like I'm picking the things that I want to do. So, Alaska is a great example. It's like I spent a decent amount of money and time wanting to visit all the Alaska national parks, and the one specifically, the Gates of the Arctic and the Kobuk Valley. It's like you have to take a flight from Anchorage. You have to get to Anchorage. You have to take a flight from Anchorage to, one of the towns that has like Kotzebue or something like that. And then from there, you have to take another flight, like on a small plane to get, even remotely to any of these. There's no infrastructure whatsoever. So, that's like super expensive trip to go on. There's only like 2,000 to 3,000 people that go a year. So, you're talking about like a super limited audience of people that have, probably even any interest in visiting those places. And so the views will be the same. Probably Easter Island's a good example. It's like, it's difficult, it's expensive. It's not something that people are like thinking about as much. And so those videos probably won't perform as well. But, to me, it's like if I was just making the videos that I thought were going to perform, I think that would maybe suck a little bit more of life out of me, as if I'm like making the things that I'm interested in and I'm passionate about them. Hopefully the videos will be better because I'm more excited about, shooting them and creating them and things like that. So I don't know. And that's kind of an indirect way to answer it. But anything that I'm making on that channel is usually something that I'm personally interested in. And so.
Yeah, like we started earlier, we were talking about you actually going to the places and filming them and going to Alaska or Easter Island and those kind of places, maybe that doesn't make back the money, but the experiences are worth it. And if it does make some money, great, if it helps pay for some meals, or something like that. But so you mentioned going to New York and, the Lincoln Highway. And so there's some things for people to look forward to coming up on your channel, I'm sure, coming up in the coming months. Is there anywhere, bucket list places that you have on a dry erase board that's like, man, someday that's going to be something that I want to do? I don't want to have any spoilers out there, but is there anything that you haven't been able to do, or even internationally? Is there some things that you do? Obviously, a lot of things, California, domestically, but is there anywhere that you'd like to go that you really haven't been able to yet?
I'm a pretty simple person. Like I just love traveling. I love experiencing new things. So I'm excited about basically anytime I get to go somewhere that's new to me. That's one of the reasons that I, wanted to make the channel that was outside of California, is that I've done so much in California that I still love the state and incredible adventure opportunities. And I have a lot of things to still do here, but I've done a lot of the big ticket kind of items, and I wanted to be able to experience some of those outside of California as well. But for example, when we were on the Lincoln Highway, I planned 5 days in 5 different cities to just do a day in the city to create content there. And I love that. Like I loved going to Omaha. It's like I don't know anything what to expect in Omaha, and I thought it was a great city. I loved just getting, to know the city, to try some of the food, to go to some of the attractions, and people wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, that's like where my next destination would be. But like Sioux Falls was another one in South Dakota. It's like, I just planned a day there. We loved exploring Sioux Falls. So, I have bucket list items. I'd love to see the 7 wonders of the world or something. But I'm just as happy to be like, I'm going to spend a day in Omaha and I'm going to see what there is to see there, or go to Wichita and see what there is to see there, because there's just so much cool, interesting culture and history and experiences in all these places. And like, I just love being able to experience them myself, and like to be able to have my own opinion and history on those places. So I'm not as excited to go back to places that I've already done before. But anything that's new, I'm excited.
That's awesome. It makes me think about, so I've done a lot of ghost town videos, unincorporated places and little rural places, and going all over Kansas to different places. And somebody said, hey, why don't you do something around Wichita? And I was like, yeah, why don't I go around Wichita? Like, I'm literally live here, and there's all these little communities in the county that I've never been to. And so that's something I'm recently doing that, like you said, I've never been there. I've been here. I'm within 20 miles of these places I've been to, but I've never really explored it. And like, well, why did that town die? Or why did that town start? Why is it named that? And every little place has a little story. And so, like you said, just going to places I've never been, I think that, for me, that's a great way to answer. So last question.
One thing on that too. I mean, I feel like, sorry, not to cut you off, but I do feel super passionate about the idea that like travel and influencers and stuff have made it that like, to have a good experience, you have to like go to Bali and you have to be like in an overwater hut. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like I'd love to do that. Like that sounds incredible. But I think that we discount things that are around us. And there's like California is a good example. Like when I was growing up, I would have told you that there's not a waterfall in Southern California. Like I hadn't seen one. I hadn't known of anybody who had been to a waterfall. There was some Yosemite. I knew all of that, but like there's hundreds and hundreds of waterfalls in Southern California. So it's like, are they as great as the ones in Yosemite? Of course not. But like I could go there in, 30 minutes and I can see a waterfall and I don't have to plan my whole day around that. I can do a half day adventure. And I think the same with like Wichita, or basically anywhere you're at in the United States or abroad. It's like you could find something within 25, 30 minutes of you might never have done before that would let you have an amazing morning that you probably would remember more than like something else that you might be doing, like, binge watching a show or something. And so like I'm super passionate about that. You don't have to like travel doesn't have to be grand, like it absolutely can be, and that's amazing, but it can also just be like the places that are nearby you and having like a cool experience with friends or family that you never would have had before, if you hadn't looked around a little bit.
I think that's really well said. Yeah, that's terrific. Last question. So do you watch a lot of YouTube? And if so, what other channels do you like? If you have a new video, I'm pretty likely to click on it. And there's some people, another guy from California, Steve, Sidetrack Adventures. He's the first interview that I did on this channel. He's certainly, every time it comes up, I'm going to watch his channel. Is there anything that you are fans of, or maybe it's a specific genre? Maybe you like something that has nothing to do with traveling. Is there anything like you generally watch on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I love YouTube. Like I get so much content through it. I mean, I used to have like all these subscriptions. Nowadays, half the time I just go to the homepage and see what it's recommending to me. But I mean, I'll watch anything. Like I'll watch, history video on like some remote location, or I'll watch a road trip, or I'll watch like tech reviews, or I'll watch, news like channels. I mean, I love like all that stuff, but I mean, I watch a lot of the travel people if they pop up. I have a lot of friends in the industry, so I'll like watch their videos as well. I'd have to like read off my subscriptions off the top of my head, but I mean, I would say YouTube is like my main content channel. Like I'll watch it more than I watch anything else. Like, so, and I love that it's maybe not as good for me because subscriptions maybe don't matter as much anymore. But I mean, YouTube recommendation engine is so good that I love just like clicking on the home feed and being introduced to new channels or new people that I had never heard before because they made an interesting video. And I love that I can find a channel that'll have, 300 subscribers, and I'll have a video that has 100,000 views, and it just like popped up and YouTube recommended it to me and introduced me to anything. I think that it is harder, these days to be able to find kind of your niche in YouTube. But I mean, y'all see that every couple of days. I'll see a small channel on my recommendation feed that's doing well, and I like there's a niche for everything on YouTube, and anything you're interested in, you can find, and you can connect with like-minded people. I know I've done that in travel, and it's cool that you can do that in other niches as well. So I don't know off the top of my head, but I love like anything. I'll watch any of it. I gotta watch your Easter Island video after I get off of this call. So there you go.
Great. I appreciate that. It'll add one more to the 1,000 that have watched it. So really appreciate your time.
I'll just watch it like 7 times over here today. There you go. Gets you to 1,007.
Nice. Awesome. That was an expensive trip. So yeah, that'll help. With that one. But yeah, hey, I know we're going long, so I really appreciate your time. Make sure to follow, if you haven't subscribed, you probably do subscribe, but if you haven't subscribed to his channel, please follow Through My Lens. There's Patreon, there's Instagram, there's X/Twitter and Facebook. It's really terrific content if you haven't seen it. One of my favorite channels for sure. I've been looking forward to talking to Josh. We've been emailing for a couple months to try to work this out. So I'm glad we were able to make it happen. And I'm excited about your Lincoln Highway videos and everything that you have coming down the pike. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your channel. I appreciate it.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of this video on Tuesday. Tuesdays are a little different around here. We call them off-the-grid videos because they're just not normal videos that we put out normally traveling. These are sometimes interviews, sometimes maybe a highlight video, a drone video, something that's just different than Thursday and Sunday, but we have a lot of fun putting those together. You can become a member on our YouTube channel here on Patreon or YouTube. Executive producers, and supporters, there's different levels. Everyone gets different perks depending on what level they're on. A lot of fun we have there with extra videos, behind the scenes content, always new stuff coming out weekly in the member only section. You go to travelwiththewiseguy.com. There are all kinds of things on there to check out. You can go to a link to get some merchandise. You can go find the Google map that has a pin dropped of every place I've done a video about and kind of do your own little adventure there. There's things like my newsletter you can sign up for that's totally free. Lots of interesting extras on the website, travelwiththewiseguy.com. Once again, thanks for making it to the end of the video, and I really, really, truly appreciate your support.